I'm here today with Wang. Chang arrived in Minneapolis in 2003, and he was the only Chinese student in his class at the University of Minnesota's law school. He graduated in 2006 and has been practicing law and living in the Twin Cities ever since. He's the author of New Tales of the Twin Cities, The History, Law, and Culture of Minnesota, which is also the first Chinese language book about Minnesota. He serves as a board member to the U of M's China Center, and he's an adjunct professor at the law school. He also sits on several state boards, including the Asian and Pacific Minnesotans. Good to have you here today, Chang.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So I wanted to talk about the Chinese New Year. That begins on February 12th, and it's the Year of the Ox. What might we expect from this year from Chinese culture?
That's a terrific question. On the lunar calendar, which rotates in a 60 years cycle based on 12 animals, you probably heard of the zodiac, and the 5 fundamental elements are gold or metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. So according to this astrology, 2021 is the year of the gold ox or the metal ox, starting on Thursday, February the 12th. In the year of the rat, which we are completing, 2020, the driving force was yang, means fast, active, and ever-changing. But for the upcoming year, the year of the ox, the driving force is yin, which is soft, passive, and moderate. In the year of the ox, we can expect some level of normalcy, and let's also hope the reason and decency will return to politics and America be a land of possibilities, as President Biden said again.
So, I like the sound of some normalcy. That sounds very nice.
Like here. So next year, the coming year, the year of gold ox should be a terrific year.
Wonderful. So are there any other cultures that celebrate the Lunar New Year?
Yes. The Spring Festival or the Lunar Calendar New Year is celebrated in regions and countries historically being heavily influenced by traditional Chinese culture, or with significant ethnic Chinese populations, including mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, South Korea, North Korea, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Vietnam, Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, the Philippines, as well as Chinese communities all over the world. The Spring Festival is a statutory holiday in some of those regions and countries. It is the most important holiday in Chinese culture.
Okay, and Minnesota, I know, has a pretty large Chinese community. Do you have any numbers on how large it actually is?
Yes, the Chinese Minnesotan community is the third largest in Asian Pacific communities across the state. The last census number was 38,238 Chinese Minnesotans. Those are citizens and green card holders, legal permanent residents. The first Chinese immigrant came to the state of Minnesota in the 1870s and remained very small in size until after World War II. After World War II, more and more people with Chinese heritage came to the state of Minnesota and stay here. The University of Minnesota is one of the largest Chinese students and scholars community in North America. There are about 3,000 students and scholars of Chinese heritage are studying and working at the university at this moment.
That's a large number of students studying there.
That's true.
So I have one more question for you. We're obviously still dealing with COVID. still dealing with social distancing and all the other rules to try and help stop the spread. How can we celebrate the Chinese New Year's in light of all those facts?
Again, it's a great question, and I have to give you an honest answer. This year's celebration will be much different from the previous years. In the previous years, during Chinese New Year holiday season, Chinese families stay together and eat a very large meal. Basically, that is for the New Year's Eve. But the holiday season started like a week ago and goes until the first half of January on the lunar calendar. So for the New Year's Eve, the families will sit together. They will make dumplings together. Dumplings or jiaozi in Chinese are the most essential course of the traditional Chinese New Year's Eve feast. Usually, all the family members sit around the dining table and wrap dumplings together from the afternoon of the New Year's Eve. That basically will be Wednesday this Wednesday afternoon. But for the past 20 years, I rarely had opportunity to make dumplings with my family, with my parents or my extended family in China. But before the COVID, the China Center would organize events. The Chinese communities would gather and host parties at the local Chinese restaurants, and the Chinese shoppers would raid the Asian grocery stores. On the Chinese New Year, most Chinese families would follow the protocol and to make dumplings at home with family and friends and neighbors. This year, however, we expect a very quiet Spring Festival, no parties, no in-person events, but a lot of Zoom and WeChat greetings. And my wife and I will definitely make a lot of dumplings for ourselves and our 3 Chinese Minnesotan dogs who unconditionally love dumplings and all types of Chinese food.
I love that your dogs love the dumplings too. Well, here's hoping that next year's Chinese New Year we'll all be able to get back together and celebrate again, and you'll be able to do something a little more traditional than Zoom meetings and dumplings with your dogs. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much. As we Chinese said, 恭喜发财. Wish you a very prosperous and happy New Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.